In the last video, we looked at filter to focus. In this video, let's look at how we can use filters to fix data quality issues. Just a quick reminder about the different types of data quality issues and what are possible to fix in Mastro based on my understanding of the functionality in Beta 4. So the first one is when multiple values are stored in one column. The typical example I gave is when we are booking in ledgers, there are many codes that are stored which are separated by hyphens and stuff. So the simple operation of splitting is helpful. It is supported here. And then we have diamond and dirt in one bundle. Depending on complexity of what we need to extract, something like a regular expression or even more things might be needed. So based on my knowledge, this is not really very well supported in Mastro. I remember seeing in Wrangler, this is very well supported. You could really type things and Wrangler learns from that. And the area that is very common and one that is very frustrating to deal with is what I call typo and its brothers, right? So the typical data entry errors. We are humans, we make errors. No matter the amount of training, no matter amount of process followed, there's always some data entry error. When people are changing in positions, especially in lower level positions, this is very common. That's where data entry happens. So data entry error exists in all types of organization, right? Unless there are very strict codes and validations that are built into the system. And the second, even more frustrating problem is multiple valid spellings. And this happens when it comes to sometimes organization names, sometimes many times in city location names, especially a city in French could be called in different ways in English. In my own country, we have so many different languages. My mother tongue is Tamil. Something written in Tamil can be actually spelled in different ways in English. So that gives rise to multiple valid spellings. And then we have acronyms also, right? So sometimes both are valid and both are used. And then we have cases like codes which are gender, like M and F2, and we don't really have a join table. We just need to do some editing and handle that. So this area, Mastro really does a good job, right? And I will demonstrate that in the video. And then data type and format issues, I think Mastro handles it again well. I'll show you some examples of the date format issues that Mastro can handle. When it comes to validation issues, I don't think Mastro can do much, except that you might need to write some custom equations and stuff, which I'm not really very keen as of now. And then missing values and outliers, I don't think Beta 4 really supports much in terms of operation. So let's start with the example on split, and then we'll get into typo and all its complications. And then finally, we'll end with the data type and date format issues. Let's get started. Here is the employee master, in which I've introduced a few issues that we can go and see how we can solve. So to demonstrate split, I've just created something called role code and department code, and then there is a combination of them. So we could see it here. And then in age, which is a number field, I've introduced some text characters, and then I also did some bizarre things like introducing a space in between. I've also inserted some leading and trailing spaces to see how Mastro handles it. And then in role, we have number of spelling mistakes, intentional, unintentional, all kinds of things. Sales clerk is spelled in so many different creative ways, and associate is spelled in creative ways, you can see. And I've also done some mistakes intentionally even in role codes also. Let's see it in Mastro and see how that is done. And then finally, to demonstrate the power of Mastro, this is one of the areas I was very impressed with Tableau, and now Mastro also, is its ability to kind of really swallow and gobble any type of a date format. I'm very impressed because I've worked on projects where we have manually, painfully consolidated data that is originating in Excel, and we were writing code in VBA to convert this. This was a nightmare. I mean, you need to understand or live in my shoes to really understand the frustration. In one click, most of the issues are solved. You could see all kinds of crazy formats I've put in terms of join month, and let's see how Mastro handles that. So those are the issues that I wanted to see how Mastro handles that. In some cases, Mastro actually does not do what we want to do, but let's see why and then also understand how Mastro interprets these things. So now on to Mastro. So here is the first step. So I brought this as a data source. You can see all the fields, things are coming in. So let's focus on some of the issue, the fields with the issue. So age, I introduced some non-numbers, right? So as of now, it is recognizing this as a number as a default, even though I put some text in it, which is good. So it is trying to interpret this as a number. And then join date and join month because we have all kinds of strings, so it is not recognizing this as a date. This is fine. Let's see, once it recognizes how it works, we'll do it in the profiler view so that we can see the effect of it easily. And then the rest of the things, they are all strings, so there's no problem. Number is recognized as a number here itself, it's fine. So now let's go to the profiler view and see how this looks. So as we can, so let's focus on the simpler case. So this one, role plus department. So if I want to really split and have something like this, right, ASC, BAL separately, how do I do that? So right click here and then you basically have this option split. So you have automatic split and custom split. So let's try the lazy man's route. So automatic split, and then now we can see what it has done. So what typically it does is it adds the new fields it's doing at the beginning. So we can see that in this case, so if I bring these two guys also, the role code and department code to the front, so near, so it will help us to validate whether it has done its job. So we can see in this case, it is, ASC is here, bill fin is correct, so this is correct. So it has done very simple, very quick step. It has done all the figuring out by itself. So let's see what it has done. So it is actually added 2 calculated fields and then some formula, which we really do not want to care at this stage, right? All we want is probably we want to rename this to something like this, but for our purpose of demonstration, we don't really need this. So I'm just gonna remove these fields. Yeah. So the way I have done this will actually add the fields and then remove them. I could actually go back and remove this also, but just for the purpose of demonstration, yes, I've done that. So that issue is handled. So we really do not want this field itself. So let's get rid of this field. So now let's go to the role, which is spelled in all kinds of ways. So how do we clean this, right? So this is typo and its brothers, right? So associate, we can see only one record, this spelling. So all 3 should be grouped together. So how do we do that? So if you go here, then there is this thing called group and replace. So what we essentially want to do is to take all these 3 values of associate and then group them together. So, but can we do it? So manual selection is, I go select here, right? And then select, for example, these 2 things represent this. And then like in Tableau, the paperclip icon tells us what we want to do. This is one option, right? So when the list is small like we have now, this is great. So let me say done and see how this works. So like in the previous step, if you go here, so in the previous step, it is 3 values, focus here. So, and when I come here, so that is gone. So they are all grouped into one. It does not show that paperclip icon here, but I think if I click on edit, it shows that. Ideally, it should show it even here, but yeah, so that this is the case. So I do not want this. Is there any other way? Okay. Rather than doing it manually, is there any other way? I think there is a way, and it does very nice job. So you can actually group based on pronunciation. So let's try that. So it has matched associate with 2 things, but here it has not matched, though by pronunciation this ideally should match also. You have an option. So what you could do is, so these are the 2 things it has matched, so we can add it to the list. This is the nice thing. So, and then we can even remove it from the list also. So it does its first cut, and then we have option to do. This is the feature that I used when I played with it. We were trying to clean up city names in customer database, and this was very helpful. And second, what has it done? So it has taken sales clerk, and then it has identified 3 spellings, but it has missed out this sale clerk as a spelling. Again, we have an option, so we could go, I think we can even drag and drop, I do not know, or we can even, I think, edit it. So right click here, edit value, I can type on, for example, sales clerk, and then this will get combined. This is one way, or you can tick. Ideally we were looking for a way to just drag and drop, so because things are here, so it is easier to drag and drop. And also, so when it does not do the job, for example, it has sales clerk, it is listed here. If you see, the sales clerk is here at the bottom. Some sort of algorithm to run the distance between this and the values, and then the values should be basically sorted by the distance, whatever is the closer. I think sales clerk would definitely be closer than any of this. So listing them at the top by their distance to whatever we call, I do not want to introduce technicalities of how this is done for all the audience. So this is for the Mastro team. Some sort of a sorting would be very helpful, because when we were dealing with real customer data, we had like few hundred cities scrolling down, and then even using search was very painful. So this would have been a better choice. Yeah. So this so let me say done, and then again it leads to this. So again you could do the edit here also. So I can edit here to sales clerk, and then both are combined again, and I can edit here to fix it once more. So each of these steps get added as a separate step, as you can see. Yeah, so this is all in bundled into this group and replace. Yeah, so we got, so even this associate spelling also we can fix it. So this is one way. All of this is happening in one operation. So is there any other way? There is a third way also. So if you go here and then group and replace common characters. So this time again associate could get only 2, sales clerk got only 2, so it did not get this one. So we probably need to go here and then tick that. So in both cases, both algorithms did not really do a perfect job, but I think it definitely provided a starting point which we can very nicely use. What I ideally like to do when we are doing this kind of a mapping is actually to have the reference column and then see what the changes is. So what I want to do, for example, is here, for example, I want to insert a step. So let's say I want to create a duplicate. So the easiest way to create a duplicate is now to use a I will call it just role 2. So and then the role is added at the beginning, I guess. So I'm gonna bring it to here. Yeah, the role 2 is here. So now, so if I go to the next step, now if I click on associate, now I can see what it is doing. This is often very helpful in the real case that we were doing, the dealing with city names. This was a huge list. Beyond a point, this interface of going manually and doing it was very painful. So we wanted to actually export this into Excel, do the cleanup process. So rather than doing that, I mean, one export Excel and then importing it back could be very helpful also, or at least having an ability to actually, rather than replace, have a duplicate so that we can visually see. I mean, we could work around by creating a column like this, but if Astro team does it on its own, this would be very helpful as well. So these are when it comes to handling typos and its brothers. Let me see whether I've covered all the cases of typos and brothers. So we have acronyms, we have codes. So we have multiple valid spellings. As I said, you could group them. So like I had some of these cases, acronyms, and you could group them in the same way. Codes, how do we handle codes? So all you need to do is just type. So you click here, type F for female, and then M for male, and done. Right? So this is taken care of. So it's all using the same thing. So wherever it is coming up with F and M, so it will do that. So if you go here again, it is the same thing, it is happening. Yeah, so the same type of dialog box is used. That's with respect to the typos and all other cases. So now let's come to the final case of join month, right? So how does it deal with join month? So what I'm gonna do is click on this. All I'm gonna do is just say date and see what it has done. The nice thing is, so it has 8 values really. So the real join date had 7 values. So now this has 8 values. So that means it has gotten most of it right. So only one null is coming, which has 2 rows. So in this interface, so we can see these two, this 29/7/2013 with 2 records, they are both interpreted as a null. The rest of the things, they are all I think interpreted properly, right? So this is the beginning of the month in each of these cases, right? So 1st of September, and this is 1st of May, and all of this, right? So let's see why this 29/7 is interpreted as a null. So when it comes to 29/7, which is July, so I have actually used a reverse format, which is the reverse format. So it probably does not recognize that. So if I change it to maybe the other type of format, maybe it is able to recognize that. So let's try it in one case. So all we need to do here is just refresh, and I hope that we should solve some of the problems. Let's see. So now the null has only one record. Yeah, so it still has some of the things that it is not able to recognize. I think it's expecting month at the beginning as opposed to what I have put. So probably I created just too much confusion. But the brilliant thing is, this is September full, this is 3 letters, so all of this is able to handle it very well, right? So let's try one more case. So if I put, for example, month at the beginning with a number, then the full text, so does it handle it well? So I'm just gonna refresh it one more time and then go to the actual column. No, it does not handle that case also well. But yeah, so far whatever it is doing is really helpful. So in this case, maybe so we might have to do manually, or I do not know what is the best way as of now. I mean, I do not like to edit it manually, but yeah, so that's all for now. So let's go back, take a stock. So we have looked at a split case, we have looked at all these typo and its brothers, we have looked at data type and format issues. So we have a number thing also I put. So age, we have all of these things. So let's see how it handled. So this is another functionality when you have a long list, so I can search. So I got age. So as you can see, there is something called null, right? So there are, what is this null record? So I need to basically go to the, yeah, so age null is this coming from row number 10. So let's see why. So because of this 2-3. So let's see, because age is interpreted as a number. So if I ask it to interpret as a string, what happens? So it's still null. Why is it? I ask you to pause and think. Because what's happening is, if you go here, in this stage, age is treated as a number, hence since it does not fit the number thing, it is basically coming as null. Then onwards, if you do the string conversion also, it doesn't help. So we'll have to do the string conversion here. Then if we go here, in age, we will be able to see all those values, this 2-3 also. So what we can do is, so we can edit this value to 23, and then basically I think we can try to convert this into a number, which would work. Yeah. So in my opinion, very impressive set of cleaning features, right? So we have been able to handle a vast array of issues. Validation issues, really we need to go with a specific example to see what we can and what we cannot do. Again, I mean, writing some sort of a simple equation would help in most cases. So I think this is a major benefit of a tool like Mastro, just the ability to see and clean, act one at a time, take one step at a time. The nice thing about this is, so in all of these operations, if you give it to an Excel person, he will do it one by one. But there is no traceability. What exactly is he doing? It's not known to anybody. So if he makes a mistake in the sense of he intentionally changes the numbers or unintentionally makes a mistake, these are the cases. I used to work in investment banking for a while, and this is one of the common things that happen when we are building very complex model, because we are working very late night, long hours. We make mistakes. I mean, analysts, we are the ones, we are building models, and we make mistakes. And the final stream, there are always many layers of validation put through in these models, because these are very, very highly expensive scenarios we are dealing with. A lot of money is involved, but even then mistakes are not detected, and then they end up on the newspapers, right? So because we don't have a control, we don't have traceability of how things are done, right? This is one of the problem. The second problem is, so we fix this 2-3, and then it comes again, or some of these issues are coming again. So this one 31, right? So I inserted the character there, but it has removed and it has interpreted it nicely. So it is doing a lot of valuable things. The nice thing is, all of these changes that I'm doing, traceability is right here, right? So whether we would be able to export this into a nice report and show it to somebody, maybe not yet. Maybe Mastro can provide that functionality from audit trail perspective, but at least you can click through. Another person coming through, he can very easily see what are the changes that are done. As of now, I don't think there is any annotation feature to explain why I am doing these things. This would also be very helpful. So because we are dealing with cleaning, and even I as an analyst, I might do some cleaning 6 months later. When I come back, I might forget why I have done that. So annotation would be very helpful. I think, but having said that, this is very impressive set of features, and I thank Mastro team for that, and I hope you enjoyed watching this.